We are live. Welcome to the Bioromo. Today I have a special guest, Dr. Scott Jensen. Dr. Scott is a Republican Party nominee for the next governor of Minnesota. Dr. Scott, thank you for accepting my invitation. Welcome to the show. Say hi to the Oromo community and the rest of the East Africans and everybody else who watches the Bioromo, which is Oromo Affairs, where I keep it real with the Oromo people and the rest of the world. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ace. It's great to be on, and it's great to be able to talk with you about what's happening in the world and what's happening in the state of Minnesota and why we all need to be involved.
For sure. I appreciate you, Doctor, for coming to the show again. And let's just watch your campaign video, and then we get it going.
I'm Dr. Scott Jensen. For 30 years, I've been a voice for my patients. I've stood with them and cared for them through life's ups and downs. From the first breaths of new life in the delivery room to the bedsides of those who have finished their time on earth. Throughout my life, I've shared tremendous grief and great joy with my fellow Minnesotans. And I've taken an oath to protect them, to do no harm. What a different world it would be if politicians could live up to that oath. It's time for new leadership.
Joining me now is Dr. Scott Jensen, physician, Minnesota State Senator.
State Senator in Minnesota. Name is Scott Jensen.
Here with the facts is Dr. Scott Jensen, Senator Scott Jensen.
So we get my guest in here is Dr. Scott Jensen.
Dr. and Senator Scott Jensen.
Dr. Jensen, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Dr. Scott Jensen.
State Senator Scott Jensen. Senator Scott Jensen, Republican from Chaska.
My name is Dr. Scott Jensen, and I'm running for governor of the great state of Minnesota. We can reopen safely. We'll drop the unilateral decisions that created vacant industrial morgues and ridiculous vaccine lotteries. We'll have a governor who understands healthcare. And we'll ensure every child in Minnesota has access to a great school. We'll fund our kids, not broken institutions. We'll have a governor who knows that the best place for kids to learn is in the classroom. And we'll restore the most basic function of government to protect your life, liberty, and property. We'll have a governor who respects every citizen of our state. As your governor, I'm going to listen to your voice and every voice that has been ignored. And like my brothers and sisters in medicine who have battled COVID head on, I will not back down from a fight. Today, I'm asking you to stand with me. I'm asking for your prayers and your support. And I am inviting you to join our movement by going to drscottjensen.com. Together, we're going to heal our state.
That's Dr. Scott Jensen. That's an awesome video.
Thank you.
Dr. Scott, most of my viewers are new immigrants, majority from East Africa. I can tell you the number one profession in East Africa that every parents tell their kids to go study is to become a doctor. So you are East Africa's favorite profession. Can you tell us just a little bit about you and what kind of doctor you are?
Well, I was born in a small town in southern Minnesota, and it was called Sleepy Eye. And I was a middle child of 5. And my mom and I had always dreamed that someday I would be a dentist and I'd be an orthodontist, and I'd put braces on people's teeth and help straighten their teeth. And I was fortunate enough that during my studies at the University of Minnesota, I was accepted into dental school. So I went into dental school and I was president of the class, and I spent lots of hours carving teeth out of blue wax and going to biochemistry and anatomy and things like that. But Ace, what I learned in that first year of dental school was I really did not like teeth. And so I took a year off and I went to the seminary. And in the seminary, I made the decision that I wanted to be a doctor. So I took the tests and I applied to medical school, and I was accepted into medical school. So in 1981, I graduated from medical school. And then for the next 3 years, I did a residency in family practice. So I'm a family doctor. My wife is a veterinarian, and she takes care of families' pets, and I take care of the family's human members. And between the two of us, we've had a wonderful life. Both of my daughters are doctors, and my son is an attorney. And so I've been practicing medicine for about 40 years as a family doctor.
Well-accomplished life and family.
Thank you.
About a sleepy eye. I believe in a sleepy eye when you guys have July 4th firework is over the lake.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's very pleasurable. One of my friends in college was telling me all about it. I almost went there to be on a canoe on the lake and then watch the fire over me. But if you win the governor, we'll go make it happen.
Perfect.
So, Dr. Scott, why should minority communities vote for you? I mean, we got betrayed by the Democratic Party so much, we're just sleeping on election night. We don't want to go vote. Why should we get out and vote for you?
I think minority communities share a lot with me and with Matt Burke. When I go to minority communities and I ask them, what's important to you? It really doesn't matter which minority group I'm speaking with.
Mm-hmm.
What they say is they want to be able to elevate their faith. They want to be able to take care of their families.
Mm-hmm.
They want to feel free.
Right.
They want less government and lower taxes, and they want to protect life. Oftentimes, Ace, I think members of a minority community have a more deeply embedded awareness of what their moral compass is. What are their core convictions that drive them? And I think that when you're in the minority, in order to, if you will, sustain your spirit, sustain a certain amount of hope, you can only do that when you've got a moral compass that says, my faith, my family, freedom, these things matter. Nobody can take them away from me. In America, I think one of the most important amendments we have is the First Amendment. We get freedom of speech. But we also in America have a powerful Second Amendment, which says that we get to keep and bear arms.
Right.
And the reason we have that is because our founding fathers, 250 years ago, recognized the importance that people get to protect themselves.
Right.
That at the end of the day, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that Second Amendment is a core conviction for so many of us.
Right.
It's part of our moral compass. It guides us on the straight and narrow. And we understand that without the Second Amendment, we wouldn't have the First Amendment.
Right, exactly. I completely understand, because in Ethiopia, if the Oromo people had Second Amendment rights, like the way we do here in America, I'm pretty sure we would not be kicked out of Ethiopia. Same for the population of Somalia. If they have Second Amendment rights like the way it is in America, I'm sure they would not be kicked out of their country as well. So that is a great point. We do definitely, every human being, generally, they do want to be free. The Democratic, go ahead.
Ace, I want to sort of piggyback on what you just said. When I went into the legislature, I was in the Senate for one term. And one of the things I told my colleagues many times is we should never legislate in conflict with human spirit, with
Right.
human behavior. And if we don't have health freedom, I don't think we have freedom. If we don't have the freedom to defend ourselves,
Right.
I don't think we have freedom. If we don't have the right to bear arms, I don't think we have freedom. So I think that it's a slippery slope.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, if we really pay attention, what is our moral compass? What is it that we're willing to die for? That matters.
Right. For sure. It should be freedom. It should be freedom. In Oromo right now, we have two parties. One of them is saying disarm. The other one is saying do not disarm. And it's a heavy battle we're in right now. And if we disarm, the same oppression will go. The same oppression that was going on before will go. But here in America, and when the message that comes from the Democratic Party is that if Republicans win, you and your loved ones will get deported. Don't people get deported, whether whomever is in charge, if they don't have paperwork and if they stay over their visa? Don't everybody get deported? What is your take on that? On the notion that if the Democrats get elected, people can overstay their visa, but if Republicans get elected, they'll be just rounded up and get deported. That's the fear. That's one of the fear tactic, that the Democrats collect votes from the minority communities, especially the new immigrants.
I think, Ace, it's exactly what you said it is. It's just a fear tactic.
Right.
Quite frankly, there are many ways in America whereby extenuating circumstances come into play, and people who are perhaps without citizenship, but with, if you will, work, a green card, various levels of status, they will stay. I don't think that there's any evidence that the Democratic Party would be more friendly to the people of East Africa than the Republican Party. I think that's just political posturing. And I think that we've seen that kind of tactic used elsewhere also.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I don't think it bears any truth.
For sure. Many immigrant communities in their immigration processes, they struggle to get answers from the immigration customs. They send in their applications, they don't hear anything back.
I think the Democratic Party is responsible for exactly that. I think that in terms of having a logical, functional system
Right?
whereby people can get their questions answered, it's lacking. And rather than fixing it, I think the Democrats frequently try to disguise it, oftentimes try to throw more money at it, and nothing's happening. The Democratic Party has done that same thing to so many United States citizens that have very important and perplexing questions about Medicare status, voting status, work status, a variety of things. And I think that what we need to do is we need to make our systems work. And the only way you make our systems work is you demand of those agencies, you've got to do your job.
For sure. I see it even with when Al Franken was a senator, they had an office, like they had an agent there. They can help people answer immigration questions because immigration customs is not responding to the applicants. So in your administration, how can you help asylum seekers when they don't get answers, and other immigration applications when they don't get answers? Can your office have an outreach personnel assigned, or somebody who they can come to get answers from the immigration?
Absolutely, Ace. I think that's an excellent approach to solving a very frustrating problem. Oftentimes, what we end up with, because our system is so dysfunctional, is we see families getting separated.
Mm-hmm.
We see workers not sometimes getting paid for the work they do,
Right.
because they're fearful that if they make too much noise, that they might be punished or deported.
Mm-hmm.
I think have an office that's dedicated to prompt answering of questions and helping people apply for asylum and helping people get on that pathway towards citizenship. And while they're on that pathway, making certain that they are on a pathway that allows them to work and to contribute and to enjoy the rights of working and living in the United States.
For sure. I wish you the best to win. And when you do win, I'm definitely willing to volunteer and whatever it takes to help establish that office, because that office is heavily needed. And also many Oromos, this is just for mentally, mentally we were prosecuted for so long in Ethiopia. Oromia is our country. We want to get our country back. So many Oromos, when they get their children here in America, when their kids born in America, they register their country as Oromia. And many of them have tried to switch their passport to read Oromia instead of Ethiopia. So that relationship too, we will establish, because even Governor Dayton have even done it for a few people to change their birth certificate, to change their naturalization paperwork to Oromia from Ethiopia. This is an inspiration that my Republican colleagues and everybody else in the Oromo that are Oromo nationalists, they want their identity back, they want their culture back, they want their country back. And that is the same thing we believe for America. America is a country, America has borders, and those borders needs to be respected. And the same way, we feel the same thing about Oromia. But moving on to the next question I have for you, following on freedom, why is your license being investigated 5 times? And what are they investigating?
Well, the first time I was being investigated because I was accused of spreading misinformation. And each one of these investigations has had nothing to do with the doctor services I provide or the healthcare services. This is an effort to weaponize the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice. I believe there are people out there who feel like they don't like my politics.
Right.
And so they're trying to shut me up. And so 5 different times I've been investigated, and I'm under investigation right now. But never has it been about the healthcare services I provide.
Right.
Even this last allegation, one of the concerns has been that I have treated patients with ivermectin for COVID-19. And in my practice, I work very hard to try to make sure that patients are in charge as much as possible. They get to be the ultimate decision maker. It isn't about me. It's about me being a resource and doing an examination and sharing the information I find, laying out the options and encouraging patients to make the choice. And if that means that they want to use something like an off-label drug for something else, for instance, you might use an antibiotic for this infection, even though it was only indicated for this infection, but it still works. There's a variety of ways that we do that. Probably 30% of doctors' prescribing is for off-label uses. But during COVID-19, this has been challenged. And so I'm being investigated. I'm confident that when the investigation's all done and said, my license will be intact. But it certainly is frustrating and disconcerting to have to go through this.
For sure. The same thing that we go through in the media. Just for having a conservative voice, our channels are constantly getting taken down. Election passes by, they let our channels go. After the election, we get our channels back. It's crazy. Why is Tim Walz not being investigated? He spreads misinformation more than anyone.
Well, I think Tim Walz is in power, and that makes him, if you will, in a position where he can manipulate things. And I think he has. And I think that he sort of makes up whatever he wants to. I mean, over the recent 2 or 3 weeks at the state fair, he announced to parents that their kids missed less than 10 days of in-class instruction. And that's not true at all. Then he announced that Minnesota is one of the safest 5 states in America. And that's not true at all. Reports have been distributed just recently stating that Minnesota is now a high crime state. He also has basically said that He allowed the 3rd precinct building to burn because that was the best advice of law enforcement. He's blaming law enforcement officers, but they're not to blame. It was Tim Walz who made that decision. But I think sometimes that old adage, he who's in charge gets to make the rules, is what Tim Walz is doing.
That's crazy. So I took some questions from the audiences too, and I'm just going to let the audiences know that they can write their comments, ask questions, and I'll put up your questions up here. And also the audiences, please do share, because since they put algorithm on our show, people cannot see our show. So for that, we got to directly send the link to people. Please do send the link and share the show. I appreciate you all. I'm following off of that. When it comes to the education, so we can see Tim Walz constantly lies about the educations, and they pull the kids out of schools and saying they only miss 10 days when several months was missed. And also, like right now, in the city of St. Paul, that's where I live. So many students are on the waiting list. For preschoolers, the least school with the least waiting list has 14 waiting lists. So on average, these schools are on 45 student waiting list. Why are they not putting all these kids in school? Why are they not just opening up a new? Why don't they just add one more classrooms to these elementary schools instead of having all these kids on a waiting list?
Absolutely, Ace. The legislature has provided funding for preschool. The dollars should be available, though so frequently dollars have been, if you will, mismanaged, and waste, fraud, and abuse have taken away the opportunities of a lot of kids. But the suggestion you make, simply adding another class, makes a lot of sense. We understand clearly that there's a significant group of preschoolers that would benefit tremendously by being in preschool, helping set the stage and preparing them for their formal K through 12 education. When I was in the Senate for the one term, we talked about that at length. We passed additional dollars to make that happen. It wasn't universal. Many parents have indicated that they don't think that their children would necessarily benefit from it, or it wasn't something they wanted. So we've said that it should be voluntary, but we do have the funding available, and we made it on a means-tested basis.
For sure. This bit disappointed me because I have young children, and 6 months after Joe Biden got elected, they kicked my kids out of daycare, and they wanted me to pay around $2,200, I believe, at the time. We were paying $400. It was 3 kids. And how can a think small be out of funding when everything is Democrats ran, and the Democrats said, we're running for free daycare, free preschools? How can they promise us that, and then they fully take over the office from the executive all the way down? And why are they not making it free then?
Ace, I think this is one of their tactics. Promise the world, sort of capture your vote, capture your support, and then when things fall apart, shrug your shoulders and say, too bad for you. I think that's why a lot of minority communities are recognizing that they're not getting the life that they wanted. They're not dreaming dreams and starting businesses and being successful. They've been giving handouts, if you will, little by little, but then they're always being controlled. They're always controlled by the Democratic Party saying, well, you've got to vote for us or we won't be able to get you the money. There's a game going on here.
Right.
And I think so many communities are recognizing this isn't about helping us. This is about controlling us.
Exactly. Just making us dependent on the politicians.
Yes.
What can you do on your education plan to put these preschoolers in a school?
We need to have the money follow the kids. If you're a kid, you've got a chunk of money that follows you. We need to fund kids, not broken institutions. When we let parents guide where their kids will go to school, parents will have a much better idea of what kind of scenario the child will succeed in. That's why we need to have student choice, so that the parents get to decide, okay, I want my child to go here or here. But the idea of being stuck in a failing school because that happens to be the zip code within which that you live is wrong. It's time to break loose and let kids have choice. Let parents really be involved with what's going to be the best set of circumstances for their kids. That's what we should be doing.
For sure, for sure. The other pressing issue in Minnesota is the crime, the rising in crimes. We even had 3 Oromo youth murdered, 2 of them murdered, 1 of them woke up after 30 days of coma. No justice, no investigation. What is your crime plan?
We got to have more cops on the street. We've got to have a restorative justice program in place. Repeat violent felons need to be incarcerated. They're not going to stop doing what they're doing unless there's some sort of deterrent. Mandated minimum sentences mean mandated minimum sentences. Recently, we had a situation where a fellow was up for 17 years and 2 felony charges because he shot into a vehicle 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the 1 and the 4-year-old children in the vehicle in this situation were not harmed, but the judge and the prosecuting attorney plea bargained the 17 years of potential prison time down to 4 months. 17 years down to 4 months. And then the judge said that he would have the criminal serve this in house arrest, meaning he wasn't even incarcerated for 4 months. He simply had to stay home. There is no deterrent in this situation to stop this repeat violent felon from doing it again. If we don't enforce the law, we can't rehabilitate these criminals who are on a dead-end pathway.
I like it. You're strong on the criminals. Now the community is going to challenge you. How strong are you on the criminal cops or the bad cops? So one of the audiences in their comments wrote, "What about those who lost their lives on the hands of those of armed for no those of armed?" I think she means the police for no reason, just because they play loud music or they're Muslim, extender, etc. I think what she was saying. So what about on the bad cops? As we know, the Democrats failed us really bad to hold the cops accountable, because when George Floyd killed like that on a video with no dispute, the governor is a Democrat, Attorney General is a Democrat, the city mayor is a Democrat, the entire city council of Minneapolis, except 1 independent person, they're all Democrat, the police chief Democrat, we said the mayor was a Democrat, the county attorney is a Democrat. They're all Democrat from top to bottom. They failed us on holding the police accountable. How can you hold the police accountable?
We have to hold the police accountable. We have to hold doctors accountable. I'm a physician. In my profession, I think 99% plus of the work we do is important, good work. I would say the same thing about the cops. 99% plus of the work they do is good work, whether they're responding to someone with a heart attack, taking a car accident scene, chasing down a criminal, arresting him or her, and booking him and letting the courts mediate the situation and do justice. But yes, cops make mistakes, and so do doctors, and so do nurses, and so does every profession. And I think we have to have a mechanism in place whereby, in a transparent fashion, we all can know that those cops that are messing up, they are, if you will, evaluated, and justice for the whole community will take place. But when we do it that way, Ace, when we make it transparent, we're making it better for everybody, for the cop, for the person that's been injured. And it's the same thing in medicine. That's why we have the opportunity for people to initiate a malpractice case against a doctor. We need to make it transparent. We need to get the facts on the table. We need to ask, why did the doctor not do an appendectomy earlier, before the appendix ruptured? Those kinds of things. I don't think good doctors mind when bad doctors or a doctor who slips up is evaluated and justice is brought to bear. And I don't think good cops have any concern about the fact that when cops mess up, there will be accountability. But it has to be fair. It has to be fair for both sides. And going on a witch hunt isn't going to make anything fair. But I think we absolutely have to hold professionals accountable, whether they be doctors or policemen.
For sure, for sure. Let's touch on economics now. What's your economic plan for Minnesota? Because as new immigrants, we want to achieve the American dream, but it's very difficult to run a business nowadays in Minnesota.
I think one of the things we need to recognize is that America doesn't promise equal outcomes.
Right.
America promises opportunity. And we need to make sure that that opportunity is there. That means we need to have programs available so that people who don't have family roots here, but are starting out, have access to dollars, to loans, to opportunities to start businesses. We need to make certain that training is available so that people have skills to bring to the job market. What we need more than anything is we need a hot, sizzling economy whereby there's lots of work, good paying jobs, fairness in the business community. Those are the things we need. When we have the heavy hand of government squashing down business such that jobs aren't available, good paying jobs aren't available,
right,
we hurt everybody. We need to say, how do we unleash our economy? And one of the best things we can do is we need to let miners mine.
right.
We need to let loggers log. Let farmers farm. Try to get government out of the way. Let business people run their businesses. Don't smother people with these permitting and regulatory demands that simply take more and more money out of that business. We need to do all of those things. We need to make certain that small businesses can start with low interest loans. We need to make sure that there's police there to protect these fledgling businesses. We've seen minority communities do this over and over again in America, where they move to America, they dream dreams, and then they go out and they build their dreams. That's what we need to do. Whatever our plan is, we always have to ask ourselves the question, are we helping people dream dreams, start businesses, and be successful? That's what makes America different.
For sure. The next question I have is the stand on abortion. There is yard signs and everything all over saying that Dr. Scott Jensen bans abortion. Can you highlight your stand on abortion, and also what is the main debate? The main debate is that abortion should be paid for by the tax money or private money. Can people go get abortion with their own private money?
Right now in Minnesota, abortion is not on the ballot in November.
Right.
The right to access to abortion is a constitutionally protected right for all Minnesota women. That's the law of the land based on the Supreme Court's 1995 Doe v. Gomez decision, whereby the Constitution was interpreted as having this protected right. Furthermore, in Minnesota, it is publicly paid for if the means aren't there otherwise.
Right.
I think the discussion we have now is clearly it's not on the ballot. What's on the ballot is public safety, inflation, the economy, What are we doing to our kids? Why are we hypersexualizing our children? Why are we demonstrating graphic images that have to do with sex in elementary schools? The bottom line is, as Tim Walz has said, and Keith Ellison has said, abortion is a constitutionally protected right in Minnesota, and no governor can change that.
Right.
Walz and Ellison have both said that.
Right.
We've said we accept that. The way that changes is through a constitutional amendment whereby 5.5 million Minnesotans will decide.
Exactly.
But no government will change that. And that's not what we're running.
Exactly.
We're running focused on safety, inflation, economy, and education. And we need to make certain that people understand that. Because arguably, Ace, this election in 2 months is one of the most important elections Minnesota has ever faced.
For sure.
Minnesota is broken. We have so much waste, fraud, and abuse. People who need the support and the help of government aren't getting it because we're wasting money in some fraudulent daycare programs, in fraudulent programs that are designed to help feed the hungry, in our licensing programs such as MNLAR. We've lost hundreds of millions of dollars that could have gone to help minority communities assimilate into our business package, into our business arena and succeed, but that hasn't happened.
For sure. I'm going to take one more or a few more questions from the audiences as we head toward the end of the show. Dyer Wacko is a small business owner here in Minnesota. He says, what is your vision for Minnesota and what role do minorities play in shaping the future?
In a sense, if you trace our family roots back far enough, the great majority of all American citizens, our ancestors were minorities at one time. We need to remember what is the basis for the American democracy. And it's we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, but promote the general welfare. Mm-hmm. When immigrant communities succeed, we all succeed. When people from East Africa succeed, we all succeed. Mm-hmm. When our economy is made stronger by the goods and the services and the products of all the various communities, America is stronger. When America is stronger, we as the people who live in America are safer. We're more confident that our children are going to be educated in an effective way. And we also feel like we can push back against inflationary cycles when the economy isn't so good. But we all have the right, Ace, to expect our government to not make policy that fractures our economy. When that happens, everybody's hurt. But the groups that are hurt the most are those minority communities mm-hmm. that are early on in their path to dream their dreams, build on their dreams, create businesses. In those situations, the people who desperately need the help the most are getting hurt the most.
For sure, for sure. I really appreciate you for that. And one other question from Robale Musa is, this is the one we touched on earlier. We discussed about the civil war that's going on in East Africa and how your office, if you get elected, can help us with immigration application processes that are not getting answered by the immigration customs. And other than that, we, the Republican Party, worldwide, we fight for the general welfare of everybody. We don't do special favors only for East Africa or West Africa or South America or Southeast Asia. We fight for complete general welfare for everybody. Everybody is equal, and then they can compete from there. Anything you want to add for him? Like, I don't want to answer the question for you.
Well, Ace, I think you said it well. I mean, I think we need to ask ourselves, what are the things we would highlight that are embedded within that question? One is there has to be a fair immigration application process. It has to be transparent. If it isn't, then we're creating winners and losers. Then we're basically saying, well, if you know this guy or you know that gal, then this can happen. We want it to be fair and transparent. But we also need to understand that as we unroll or roll out this fair, transparent program, there has to be opportunity within it for everybody to succeed. What do I mean by that? Well, if we have a language barrier, then it's not fair. So we have to create some sort of an access point, some sort of a special needs office that's going to be there to help people walk through that journey of applying for immigration status, applying for citizenship, applying for asylum, getting a green card, being able to stay here, being able to have a family, be able to get their kids in school, be able to direct where their kids go to school. All of those things. Get a driver's license, get an identification card. We need to make this available and understandable and transparent, and it has to be able to be done in a person's language, because if they can't speak the language that it's being presented in, it's of no use.
For sure. And the last questions I have for you. It seems like, well, let me just highlight it from what Joe Biden did, and Tim Walz is doing it too here in Minnesota. Remember when Joe Biden said, as soon as I get into the office, I'll put shots into people's arm and I'll put checks in people's pocket. But when he actually got into the office, he only sent $600. And then, the whole nation got so surprised. Why are you sending such a little check? And then Donald Trump said, the people deserve 2,000. Why did you send them 600? And then that backfired him. And then the Democrats end up approving the other 1,400 as well. So I'm pretty sure Joe Biden and them did that during the campaign, saying we will send a check, we'll put the check in your pocket and put the shots in your arm. And the same way now, Tim Walz announced that frontline workers pay program. And they said it's going to come sometimes in the early fall, which means 2 weeks before the election, we're going to get it. Is this perfectly timed, 2 weeks before the elections, to buy votes of the lower working class, like people like me? So are they buying votes with that, or why are they not sending this check early? Because the people need it in early 2022.
Ace, you're spot on. You're correct. You know as well as I do that when a politician wants to play Santa Claus with money that is not his or hers and times it so as that it comes out within a couple of weeks of the election, this is nothing more than trying to buy an election, buy votes, pander to the public. I think that people are not as gullible as politicians sometimes think.
Right.
Ace, you see through this. Your fellow members of the East African communities see through this. If you are going to be given some small tidbit and then be told, now we've got your vote, and then you learn in the days and weeks and months after the election that there's nothing there for you. There's no commitment to you or your community. There's just political pandering. They got what they wanted from you. They got your vote. Too bad for you. See you in 4 years.
You're right.
It's just happened before, over and over again.
Over and over.
And I think that's why there's a movement whereby so many people, so many minority communities are saying, enough. We've had enough. We're not falling for this again. You've made too many empty promises and you're not performing.
For sure. For sure. That's the last question I have for you. My suggestion for you is just people generally just wants to be free, especially new immigrants. We just came from oppressive government in third world. When we land in America, we just want to get pulled over by good cops, We just want to register a business and get to work.
Ace, if I could close with just a couple comments.
For sure.
When you came here, you had some dreams.
Right.
You had a moral compass. You know what you're about. Your faith, your family, freedom, protecting life. You know these things.
Right.
Don't give them up.
100%.
I'm a man of faith. And in the Bible I read, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 14, it says this: hold fast to the beliefs you profess. In other words, don't give up. Don't let go of your core convictions. It's probably your core convictions that have kept you alive and got you to this land so that you can have a chance in a land of opportunity to dream dreams, start businesses,
Right.
and be successful. Don't let go of your moral compass,
For sure.
because at the end of the day, each one of us has to look in the mirror and say,
Sure.
am I the person that I believe I am? Am I a person with integrity? And if we let go of our moral compass, we are not people of integrity.
For sure. For
Thank
sure.
you.
The advice well taken. I wish you good luck, man. I wish you good luck in this election. Everybody get out, vote, vote red. That's the color of this show because I'm conservative and I rep conservative Oromos, and I appreciate you all the audiences that are watching. Please do share before you drop off, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. I appreciate you, Dr. Scott. Just stick around for a little bit. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful